The unexpected deaths of Rob Reiner and his wife. It has fans around the world who worked with him on his project shocked.
Celebrities and public figures are...
He taught us to use our voice, our speech. Please, use it.
This news hit Hollywood like a thunderclap, shattering the veneer of glamour and revealing the raw underbelly of human tragedy. On December 14, 2025, Rob Reiner, the director who gave us classics like When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, and A Few Good Men, was found dead in his Brentwood home alongside his wife of 36 years, Michelle Singer Reiner. Both had been brutally stabbed, their deaths ruled homicides by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office.
Was saying that he had schizophrenia and that the medications made him dangerous. You don't jive with that.
No, listen, when you change your meds, it typically takes 6 weeks for it even to start working. Okay? And all of a sudden, he's diagnosed with schizophrenia. I mean, look, what other defense?
What makes the horror unimaginable is the arrest of their 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, including the special circumstance of multiple murders. As tributes poured in from celebrities, the question on everyone's mind echoed through social media and newsrooms. Why would a son turn on the parents who had fought so hard to save him?
Rob Reiner and his beautiful wife, they have arrested the son, Nick. He has retained the famed defense attorney that worked with Karen Reed.
Yeah.
I feel so badly for the other 2 kids.
Oh,
so
God,
he was the middle
bad,
child. So there was an older son. Of course, he had a daughter with Penny Marshall who has spoken out. But then when he married this woman who, while doing Harry Met Sally, Michelle, then they had their 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, like perfect, and it seems like the kids were all really close. And then obviously he had his challenges from teenage years or even earlier on. People have spoken.
I mean, I feel bad a little bit for Conan O'Brien. Like, I feel like it all began at his Christmas party is what I'm reading
right.
now.
And when these tragedies happen, you do sort of associate something like that forever. And I'm assuming he's one of those guys that has the annual Christmas party.
It must be like a Hollywood Christmas party where all the A-list comedy people and everyone else, filmmakers, go.
Yeah.
And I mean, he can't do it anymore. Like, all you would talk about now is the last year's Christmas party. Right? So
the Reiners, Michelle and Rob attended, and they brought their son because they felt he was in a really bad place. He's one of, this has just been a very common thing. I had it with my sibling and brother. I'm going to talk more about it on Patreon because the similarities are very hard and triggering. Like, my sister and I can't even talk to each other this week about it because it's like, but it's really hard. And it starts with, they struggle as a kid.
Yeah.
And because they're struggling as a kid, then they find drugs and alcohol. And they finally feel normal. Then they become addicted. And part of the reason that the addiction and why they didn't feel good as a kid is there's another layer.
Rob Reiner wasn't just a filmmaker. He was a cultural touchstone, a man whose work blended humor, heart, and unflinching truth. His films captured the messiness of life, love, loss, friendship, and made audiences feel seen. But behind the scenes, Reiner's own life had its share of turmoil, particularly with Nick, whose battles with addiction and mental health had been an open secret in Hollywood circles.
It's not just straight addiction, there's mental illness.
Right.
And then you parlay it into, you have all the opportunity in the world, you have the 2 loving parents.
Yeah.
You want to be in the industry, but because of all this addiction and illness, even with all the Nepo help, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And then, you have a selfish personality or whatever the case is. It's like his entitlement. And so he was walking around the party, not dressed accordingly, and walking up to like Bill Hader, interrupting conversation and being like, "Are you famous? Are you famous?"
He would ask him that. Apparently what I've read this morning was he would ask him, "What's your first name? What's your last name? And are you famous?" So the people were like, I don't know. I guess some people probably knew who he was from meeting him.
And some probably didn't. But he's walking around in a hoodie. People are like, "Wait, what?" And then I'm sure, just like my dad was with my brother and stuff, it was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop it. And so there was like a verbal.
The reactions came swiftly, a cascade of grief from those who knew him as a collaborator, friend, and outspoken progressive voice. Ben Stiller, Reiner's longtime pal and co-star in projects like When Harry Met Sally, shared a poignant tribute, calling him a master storyteller who brought light to dark times. Billy Crystal, his longtime friend who had arrived at the Reiner home shortly after the bodies were discovered by daughter Romy Reiner, spoke of their decades-long bond, forged in laughter and shared creative fires. Even Maria Shriver couldn't hold back tears when she learned of Rob's death.
Today is Monday, the day after Hanukkah, the day after Australia, after Bondi Beach, after Brown University shooting, and after the tragic murder of my great friends Rob and Michelle Reiner. The entire world is hurting. They're shaken by what happened in Australia, shaken again by what happened at a university, and shaken here in Los Angeles. And yet we have a president who doesn't use this opportunity to bring anybody together. Instead uses it to speak about himself, instead uses it.
Martin Short, another comedy legend and frequent collaborator, echoed that sentiment in a joint statement with Larry David and others. Rob was brilliant and kind, Short said, recalling how Reiner's genuine warmth made every set feel like family. David, known for his wit, added a rare note of vulnerability, saying he made us better, even when we didn't deserve it.
I'm not sure how to do this.
Yeah, many celebs have posted their reaction and their grief over the murder of Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner on social media, but for those who have had to do it on camera, they haven't managed to do it without shedding a tear at the same time.
It's still in shock, to be honest. It's just still in shock.
Jerry O'Connell, who at 12 years old starred in Rob's third movie. Well, Jerry was on CBS Mornings Monday morning and revealed that he was one of the first to learn the news that was in fact Rob and Michelle who were murdered in their family home.
Over the moon to get that job because people may or not know, but this is Spinal Tap is my all-time favorite movie. And when he called me, I was just so thrilled. But the making of that movie was one of the best experiences that I've ever had on a set. He was so fun, you know, and it comes down from the top. You know, you can set a tone where people feel like we are working hard, but also working hard in a safe and pleasant and fun situation. You know, we had lunch together every day. I'd never done that with a director before or since. I'd never gone to have lunch, and Michelle would be there, and the two of them were so great together.
These words paint a picture of a man who prioritized people over prestige, a theme that resonated amid the unfolding details of Nick's troubled history. Digging into online archives reveals a heartbreaking backstory. Nick Reiner's struggles began in his teens, marked by heroin addiction and multiple rehab stints, 18 by age 22.
You don't seem very fiery to me. You seem like you might just...
I get crazy.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to set me off.
Yeah. Were you ever worried that that Nick could shine poorly on your career or something like that?
No. That never crossed my mind. I mean, you know, he's my son. I love him. It doesn't matter. He's more important than anything that could happen to me.
Charlie, why don't you tell us what you want to thank God for? 6 months of sobriety? Nothing you want to say?
Do I smell like weed?
No.
I think I smell like weed.
Is most of the movie parallel to your life, or almost all of it?
No, we took from our lives, but it's a fiction. I mean, Nick can tell you because he went through all of this, and I think you took from a lot of different people, didn't you?
Yeah, from my own experiences and from also seeing other people going through it, and also the varying establishments that I was in. You really get a sense for that whole world. So it's not like copy and pasted, but it's definitely...
In 2015, he co-wrote Being Charlie, a semi-autobiographical film directed by his father, which chronicled a young man's descent into addiction and the strained family dynamics it caused. Rob once said the project helped him understand Nick's pain, calling it a turning point in their relationship.
And I think, it cuts across socioeconomic boundaries. I mean, if you look what's going on now with the heroin epidemic around the country, it's invading white middle-class suburban neighborhoods. So it doesn't really it crosses all economic boundaries, and difficulties that you have are not relegated to only people who are unprivileged.
How bad did it get at home between the two of you?
It's reflected in the movie where the father character talks about how he didn't know what to do, so he listened to anybody who had a desk and a diploma to do exactly what you're talking about. But the truth of the matter is, you have to be who you are, and I made mistakes in that I didn't go with my gut instinct and the feel, and I know Nick better than some expert who's never met him. And I think had I listened to my own instincts, I would have done a lot better by Nick. But you do what you do. You're a parent, and you think, here's my kid running out into the street, he's going to get hit by a truck, or you want to keep him safe. So you do what they tell you. You feel you're at their mercy. But what I feel after all of this is it's not about punishing. If somebody is struggling and has difficulties, you don't punish them for that. And I think a lot of these programs feel like the kid is being punished, and I don't think that's a great way to go. I mean, how do you feel about it, Nick?
About what part
about what I was just saying about the idea of the tough love and all of that stuff.
I'm here, so it worked.
But archives from outlets like People and the LA Times show the issues persisted. Nick was prescribed medication for schizophrenia before the killings, and sources close to the family described escalating tensions.
We're all very sad at the Tonight Show to hear about the passing of our friend and entertainment legend, Rob Reiner, and his wife, Michelle Reiner. Rob was a frequent guest here on the show, and everyone here would line up around his dressing room to say hi or tell him something that they loved. I mean, what he's given to the world through his art, from All in the Family to going to direct some great movies like Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, When Harry Met Sally, Spinal Tap, producing Seinfeld. Everyone felt like they had a personal connection to Rob Reiner and his work. I personally remember the last time he was on our show, and he came out from the curtain, and I was so happy to see him that I hugged him. And then we didn't let go hugging all the way to the guest chair, and we didn't plan it. We were just doing a bit, and he knew I was doing the bit and just went along with it. He's one of the smartest and funniest people I've ever met. What a tremendous loss, and he leaves behind such a legacy. Thank you for all the great work on and off screen, and continuing to be an inspiration to me and millions of people around the world. In the end, I'm going to remember all of the laughs that you've given us.
Kathy Bates, who starred in Reiner's Misery, was among the first to react publicly, posting a tearful video tribute.
Rob changed the course of my life. And if he hadn't, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you now. When I look back over the last 35 years since we made Misery, I realize that if I hadn't done Misery, it would be like George Bailey going back and seeing what his life would have been like if he had never been there. I wouldn't have had some of the friends that I have now. I wouldn't have had the richness in my life. I, quite frankly, probably would have stayed in the theater, and I doubt I would have had a movie career. I might have dropped out altogether. I've always wanted to be an actress from when I was very, very small. I don't know why. I've always had that dream. And if it wasn't for Rob, I don't think I would have ever been able to make that dream come true in such a dramatic and incredible.
The motive, pieced together from police reports and archived interviews, points to a toxic brew of mental illness and unresolved family conflict. The night before the murders, Nick had a heated argument with his parents at a Christmas party hosted by Conan O'Brien. Witnesses recalled O'Brien intervening to prevent calls to the police as Nick's behavior spiraled.
Different. For me, the noise was basically, living in the family that I live in and catching heat for that sort of stuff. And also just...
For being a Reiner?
I guess. I mean, people would like to think that's a real bigger deal than it actually is, but it's really like I was an emotional kid who had problems, and I just was not so fond of myself, so I kind of, had problems in that way. But in terms of the thing you were saying before, it's like I think that our relationship was not as it was portrayed in the film. Like there were this sort of like holding the line and being tough, but like we didn't ever argue like quite like that. I mean, we did, I guess, to a degree, but it was never.
He was fiery. You don't seem very fiery to me. You seem like you might just.
I get crazy.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
You don't want to set me off.
No. Some big blow-ups there.
No, we both can get pretty.
You don't roll easily either.
No, we can both get pretty hot, and there were times when we did get hot. But
clips from podcasts feature Nick discussing his virginity loss and stealing from his parents during addiction lows, stories that resurfaced virally after his arrest, underscoring years of strain. Legal experts note an insanity plea might be pursued, given his schizophrenia diagnosis, but it's a very hard road ahead.
Tell he was just a good guy, a loved guy, and a talented guy, and his father, and what his father accomplished. Man, what a shocking, surprising story that is. But to just talk about the greatness of Rob Reiner, again, when he started out as an actor in All in the Family, playing Meathead, which is a part of my childhood. Carol O'Connor and All in the Family, and those characters, and Edith and Archie Bunker and Meathead and all those iconic moments. That was like must watch TV. And when you see the clips, they're still as poignant and as entertaining and as funny and as sometimes heartwarming and dramatic to this day. But as a director, what a career. When Harry Met Sally might be one of the best movies ever made. Like, my wife considers When Harry Met Sally her favorite movie. That's an incredible movie. And Misery, and A Few Good Men, and Stand By Me, and of course, I mean, Spinal Tap is game-changing, such a unique...
Meg Ryan, Reiner's iconic leading lady in When Harry Met Sally, shared a heartfelt post, "Oh, how we will miss this man. He made magic from the ordinary." Ron Howard, a fellow director, praised Reiner's mentorship, saying, "He taught me to lead with heart." Kevin Bacon from A Few Good Men added, "Rob's stories changed lives, mine included."
Weird, creative way to tell a story, way ahead of its time, way back in 1984, and the performances that he got out of his actors, all the guys in Spinal Tap, all the kids in Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, they've never, ever, ever, ever been better. And Misery, the resurgence of James Caan, the discovery of Kathy Bates, and telling that story. What a tragic, terrible, scary, frightening, horrible, horrible story this turned into from somebody that brought so much joy. Those films, Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, A Few Good Men, they're so entertaining and they're so joyful, and that's a reflection of who Rob Reiner was. And it's just a tragic story. And like I said, we had the privilege of having him on the podcast, and it's one of the best episodes I've ever done.
Even beyond film, figures like former President Bill Clinton and Barack Obama contrasted sharply with Donald Trump's inflammatory response, which blamed Reiner's Trump derangement syndrome for his fate.
President Barack Obama and wife Michelle paid tribute to Reiner, saying in part, together he and his wife lived lives defined by purpose. They will be remembered for the values they championed and the countless people that they inspired. We send our deepest condolences to all who loved them. Back out here live, we're next to Rob Reiner's star, which is directly above his father's star, Carl Reiner, who died in 2020 at the age of 98. Reporting live in Hollywood.
Now facing life without parole or death, Nick's case centers on his mental state, schizophrenia meds, addiction history, and that fatal argument. Yet amid the darkness, tributes focused on Reiner's light. ABC spoke of his genuineness. Stephen King, whose works Reiner adapted, called him a wonderful friend and brilliant filmmaker.
Like cold like that. He was very loving and compassionate. I just think that he didn't really know what to do.
What about Mom?
I didn't go to either of them because neither of them believed a word I said, but it was sort of like comforting to talk to her because she was a little bit more in touch with her emotions and how she felt about it. And he was sort of trying to, you know, follow orders, I guess.
You went to, how many times did you go to rehab? You said, is it 18 times?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it had to come from you, so what was rock bottom?
There wasn't one. It's all rock bottom. It all sucked.
When did you, what made you finally make it not a 19th?
I got just sick of it. I mean, it's hard to believe that you wouldn't get sick after 5 of them, but I mean, after 18, I was like, okay, I'm pretty bored of this.
The reason he did it remains a puzzle of pain. A son ravaged by addiction and illness, parents who never stopped trying. Reiner once said being Charlie made him a better father, but tragedy struck anyway. As Hollywood grieves, all these reactions from celebrities show the enduring impact Reiner had on everyone.
And like I said, you know, we had the privilege of having him on the podcast, and it's one of the best episodes I've ever done because of him.
Rob Reiner's legacy isn't dimmed by this horror. He taught empathy through stories, and even in death, his circle's responses honor that fact. Michelle, his steadfast partner, is remembered alongside him. Her love was a quiet force pushing Reiner through tough times. As investigations continue, the world holds its breath, hoping for answers in the archives of a broken family. Kindly drop a heart in the comments if Rob ever made you smile in his movies. Thanks for watching.